He's back to pass. Pressure coming. He's going to get hit in the end zone. That's going to be a safety.
It's now time for Gridiron, State of the Union.
Another touchdown, Porter Ridge, and they've gone up. The score is 23-17.
Presented by DMR Reconstruction, North Carolina's leader in quality insurance restoration services, with crews on standby 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. DMR Reconstruction has your restoration needs covered. Give them a call at 704-327-4028.
He's going to hand it off to Byram. Byram on the right-hand side. He's going to be into the end zone. Touchdown, Monroe.
Gridiron State of the Union is your insider's look each week into Union County High School football.
Malcolm fires one off, and it's into the end zone. Touchdown, Piedmont.
Now we head into the DMR Reconstruction Studio and your host, Brian Stevenson.
We have officially reached the halfway point of the high school football season. Fall has begun, and the conference schedule is just around the corner for most teams. Hello everyone, and welcome to Gridiron State of the Union. I'm your host, Brian Stevenson. Last week saw Weddington remain undefeated with a shutout of Parkwood. Central Academy shut out South Stanley. Cuthbertson got its first win ever against Forest Hills. Sun Valley held on to beat rival Porter Ridge, and Union Academy beat East Montgomery. Meanwhile, Monroe dropped a tough one to Charlotte Christian, and Marvin Ridge was shut out by Rocky River. To hear more on these games and what's on tap for this week, it's time to take our trip around Union, and we start tonight with our WIXC Game of the Week and Sideline Mike.
Central Academy at Piedmont is our WIXC Game of the Week. The Cougars' trip to Unionville comes on the heels of their 38-0 drubbing of South Stanley. The win improved their record to 3-2. Running back Jack Heda had a big game, running for 106 yards on 10 carries. He also had 2 touchdowns on the night. The defense also stepped up big, racking up 5 sacks. Their opponent tonight, the Piedmont Panthers, are coming off a bye week. The Panthers needed a chance to regroup after dropping 2 straight to Parkwood and Forest Hills. Piedmont did have a bright spot in their last game after giving up 32 in the first half against Forest Hills. The defense made adjustments at halftime and shut the Jackets out in the second half. Tune in to see who comes out on top in this one as our WIXC Game of the Week live on Friday night. Kickoff's at 7:30. Now to Game 2 of our doubleheader with Reed Alexander.
Game 2 of our doubleheader tonight features 2 teams moving in the opposite directions. The Sun Valley Spartans hit the road to take on the Monroe Redhawks. The Spartans have won their past 2, including their 17-10 win over Porter Ridge last week, and the win improved Sun Valley to 3-2. Now their opponent tonight, the Monroe Redhawks, they have dropped 2 straight, but the losses have been close and to some of the best competition in the area. 2 weeks ago, Monroe lost to Weddington 28-20, and last week they fell to Charlotte Christian 35-27. The Redhawks took the lead 19-14 in the third quarter, but the Knights then scored twice, including a pick 6 off Zephaniah Wall. This should be a good one tonight in Monroe. Tune in as Game 2 of our WIXC doubleheader. Now let's go to Chris Rogers with a report on Marvin Ridge.
Marvin Ridge still looking for their first win of the season on Friday night as they welcome Davidson Day. Last week the Mavericks were shut out by Rocky River. The Ravens racked up 359 yards in offense. On a tough start for Coach Brad Hoover, who's trying to rebuild a program that has only had 2 wins in their past 16 games, spanning the last 3 seasons. Their opponent this Friday night will be another tough one. Davidson Day comes into Marvin with a 5-0 record. The Patriots only allowing an average of 4 points a game, while scoring an average of 36. That's the report on Marvin Ridge. Next up, Union Academy. After going 0-3, the Cardinals have rolled off 2 impressive wins. Last week they won 22-20 against East Montgomery. They are now 2-0 in the Yadkin Valley Conference and will try to make it 3 in a row this week when they host South Stanley. The Rowdy Rebel Bulls are 0-4 overall and 0-1 in the conference. Last year the Cardinals shut out South Stanley 35-0. That's a report on Union Academy. Now off to Derek Skinner with a look at Forest Hills.
Forest Hills tries to bounce back this week as they hit the road to North Rowan. Last Friday, the Jackets fell to Cuthbertson 28-14. The offense never seemed to get on track after scoring 32 against Piedmont the previous week. Cuthbertson did a good job of shutting down the Jackets' run game. They'll need to find a way to get Jashawn McLaughlin the ball this week if they want to win at North Stanley. The Cavaliers come into the game 3-2. Last year, North Stanley won the matchup 34-7. That's the report on the Jackets. And now to Ken Ogden with a report on Cuthbertson.
The Cuthbertson Cavaliers welcome Providence Day to Waxhaw this week. Last week, the Cavaliers got their first win ever against Forest Hills, 28-14. The defense put a lot of pressure on Forest Hills in the first half. That defense, combined with the Austin Kendall offense, got the job done in the first half, but Kendall was pulled from the game at halftime due to a possible concussion. Second-string QB Tommy Danka stepped up when it counted and led the Cavaliers to victory. Their opponent on Friday night is Providence Day. The Chargers are 1-4 overall. They dropped a close one to Victory Christian 16-13 last week. A win for Cuthbertson would bring the Cavaliers' record back to 500. That's the story on Cuthbertson. And now to a report on Parkwood from Shane Green.
The Parkwood Rebels probably would like to forget last week's game in Weddington. They were shut out 45-0. Weddington's the best team in the county, and it showed. That loss snapped the Rebels' 3-game winning streak. The Rebels still have their best start in 5 years as they travel to Cherryville. The Iron Men are 1-4. Last year, the Rebels won handily over Cherryville. A win would improve the Rebels' record to 4-2. That's the story on Parkwood, and now back to the studio and Brian Stevenson.
Thanks a lot, Shane. When we come back, it's our roundtable segment. But as we go to break tonight, Union County lost a legend in coaching this week. Coach Mike Pope passed away after battling health problems. Coach Pope was a Monroe native who played and coached at Piedmont High. We'll have more on his life at the end of the show. Coach Pope was 62.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Gridiron State of the Union, brought to you exclusively by DMR Reconstruction. Fire, water, wind, or mold damage, they are your go-to source. And if you're thinking about remodeling, from the tip top of the roof to the bottom of the foundation, they can handle it for you. Windows, doors, paint, floors, vinyl siding, they do it all at DMR Reconstruction. Stop by and visit their showroom on Highway 74 in Marshville, North Carolina. You'll be glad you did. 704-327-4028, 327-4028, and they hope you're enjoying the Gridiron State of the Union, brought to you by DMR Reconstruction.
Welcome back to Gridiron State of the Union. It's time now for our roundtable segment, and I'm joined by my broadcast partner on Friday nights, Reed Alexander. And Reed, we saw a pretty good game last week, Cuthbertson and Forest Hills. Where do you assess those two teams right now?
Well, Brian, it was an awesome game. You know, Forest Hills had many chances to score and take the lead towards the end. Cuthbertson's defense, Cuthbertson's defense proved very tough. And then both teams, their defenses played very well. Cuthbertson scored the points when they needed to. Forest Hills got some turnovers when they needed to, but could not capitalize. I would say that right now, Forest Hills is looking better than they did last year, and I think that Forest Hills is playing better than people thought they would play this year. And Cuthbertson, they have the quarterback that's very talented, and I think they're probably right where people expect them to be, if not a little better. I'm sure there's plenty of Cuthbertson fans that want them to be undefeated, but there's a lot of competition in Union County.
There is, and I agree with you on that. I think Cuthbertson, that was a big win. They'd never beaten Forest Hills 0-5 previously. You knew they had to get it sometime, and they held on and won that one, so certainly a good job by those guys. And I think you're right on the money with Forest Hills too. They're better than they were last year, that's for sure. And no doubt it's probably going to come down again to Monroe and Forest Hills for the conference title last week of the season. Now, speaking of the Red Hawks, though, you're going to be out there Friday night. Sun Valley is taking on Monroe. Monroe's dropped 2 straight, but that's a little deceiving. They've played 2 pretty tough opponents, and Sun Valley coming off a couple of wins. This should be a good game.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited this Friday. We're going to see a very good football game. It should be a quick football game because both these teams are going to be running the ball like crazy. Monroe has a very powerful running attack with the multiple running backs they have on the team. Sun Valley, everybody knows who's getting the ball. Big Albert Funderburk. Now, of course, the quarterback's talented, but, Funderburk has been racking up just tons of yardage so far in the season. So you got to expect to see him run the ball.
Well, I agree. I think Albert, he's already become the all-time leading rusher in Union County high school history. So you get to see a legend in the making there, and Albert Funderburk. I doubt that record will be broken anytime real soon. Nobody in the pipeline that's quite up to his par yet, but certainly that's going to be a good game. And we're right here. We're at the halfway point. A lot of off weeks for teams after this week, and then it starts to count as we get to the conference season coming up here in just a few weeks. But thanks for joining us, Reed, on our roundtable segment. And when we come back, a team that's on a hot streak, won 2 straight. We'll be talking to the coach of Union Academy, Robert Forshee, right after this.
Hey, we'll be back to more Gridiron State of the Union in just a moment, but in the meantime, every person wants to be part of a winning team, and I want to tell you about the winning team over at DMR Reconstruction. Now, if you have fire, water, wind, or mold damage to your home, they can help you. They'll help you deal with the insurance company. They'll make it look better than it did before the accident ever happened. But did you know that they also do all kinds of home improvement? They're licensed general contractors. You thinking about new kitchen cabinets, new floors, new countertops? Maybe you need a new door. Maybe you need to paint or new vinyl siding, refinishing floors, installing carpet. They do it all at DMR Reconstruction, and they are your winning team. 704-327-4028, 327-4028, or visit the brand new showroom, Highway 74 in Marshville. It's DMR Reconstruction, exclusive sponsors of the Gridiron State of the Union and the DMR Red Zone. And now back to more action with the Gridiron State of the Union.
Welcome back to Gridiron State of the Union. Joined now by the coach of Union Academy, Robert Forshee. And Coach, 2 good weeks for your Cardinals. Back-to-back wins, 56-0 against South Davidson. Then last week, a tight one, but 22-20 victors over East Montgomery. What has that done for the momentum for this team?
Well, for the momentum, I think it's restored a little bit of our confidence. It's really got the kids back focused and continuing to work hard, and they're starting to see that their hard work is paying off, especially after an emotional loss to Cat we had 3 weeks ago.
I know I was at that Parkwood game. We won't delve into the game itself, but one thing that impressed me about you, Coach, I was down on the field just kind of checking things out before the game, and I just noticed you had that bounce in your step with your guys. You're in there in the middle of the huddle getting them pumped up and talked about, play hard for 4 quarters and see what happens. It's obvious you kind of try to get right in there with them and get that mindset in their heads to play this thing all the way to the end.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And that's what I've been trying to tell the kids since I took the job over. And, to play 100%, play with attitude and effort for 4 quarters. And if you do that whistle to whistle, you can be able to hang your head, head high at the end of the game, regardless of the outcome. So I like to try to get in there and just keep pumping them up full of that, getting them to believe that and basically live and play by that.
You guys are in a conference that's A, a tough conference, B, a conference that you have to travel long distance everywhere you go. How do you get the guys kind of their heads wrapped around that? Because there's going to be a lot of ups and downs when you're playing opponents like you guys have on the schedule.
Yeah, well, a good example of that was last week against East Montgomery. I take my hat off to those guys over there. They got some good athletes. It won't be long before they break through, but it was the same type of idea. That game was a little bit like a roller coaster. It's just trying to stay on the guys and trying to keep them not get too high and too low, and just letting them know we've got another snap coming and keep playing, and let's get the most out of it. Let's get the most out of this play, and let's not dwell too much on the past, and let's not look too far in the future and take this one snap at a time. And I think we did a really good job of that last week against East Montgomery.
Thanks a lot to Coach Robert Forshee for being our Coach's Corner guest this week. It's time now for our UCPreps.com UC Top 3. Coming in at number 3, Parkwood. Number 2, Monroe. And the number 1 team holding on to that top spot, Weddington.
Time for extra points.
And my extra points tonight, as I mentioned earlier, Union County lost a coaching legend this week. Coach Mike Pope passed away from health complications. He was born June 25, 1952 in Monroe and attended Piedmont High. He went on to Wingate Junior College and finished at Gardner-Webb, but came back to Piedmont and coached football, basketball, and track for 5 years. After that, He had a storied career in football coaching in South Carolina, winning a state championship at Blackwell Hilda in 1988. He was also named State Coach of the Year that season, and he won numerous other awards and regional championships. He finished his career serving on the staff of the Wingate University football team. But more than all of those awards and championships is the number of lives impacted in a lifetime of coaching young men to become better on the field and in life. The number of men impacted by Coach Mike Pope is immeasurable. We at WIXC send our thoughts and prayers to his wife Ginger and the entire Pope family. And we dedicate this edition of Gridiron State of the Union to the legacy left behind by Coach Mike Pope. Good night.